I'm going to be going over how to create an intent so that you can move from one screen to another in Android Studio. I have a few projects here, but I'm going to start from this intents demo. And in this intense demo, I have a few screens, and this is something that we've gone over in class already. But if I go to my Java folder, and then I'm going to start off with some screens. I have my main activity, and then I have this other screen, and then I have some class called user info. Let's go to main activity, and what you'll see here is that I have some function, and this function is called go to next screen. Now this function does a few things. It's going to get some text from some text field, and then it's going to create an intent to go to another class. And in that intent, we're going to put in a name from user, which was typed in, and then we're going to start the intent, and it's going to take us to the other class. So let's look a little bit about what that's going to look like in our emulator. So ideally, what's going to happen is that I'm going to just be able to put in my name here, so some name, and I will click the check mark, and I'll go to the next page, and then that same name shows up. So how do we do that? Well, first we go to our folder, and then we click on new activity, and then we can start with an empty activity, and we can call it something that we need. So I'm going to call it, in this case, other screen 2, and then I'm going to finish. It's going to do a few things, and it's going to show me that I now have a new screen under layout, and then other screen 2 XML has my layout, and I can go ahead and put things within here. So I'm going to have a text view, and in this text view I'm going to show something. I'm going to constrain this text view very primitively just by clicking on the plus signs. Not quite what you'd want to do, but because this is just a demo, it'll work just fine. And then I'm going to give it an ID, is going to be show info 2, and then here's show stuff. So again, very basic screen. All it has is this button right here, or this text view that's going to show some stuff from the main activity. If I go to my main activity right now, I can look at what this screen is composed as. So one of the things is just to edit text. So I dragged it in, and then I constrained it. I have this text view that just shows me that I'm in page 1, and then I have a button. Now the button has a few things. It has an ID, and then it also has on click go to screen. And how do I make this show up here? Instead of using a listener, I can just say whenever this thing's clicked, go to this method. And to be able to get that method to show up, you have to create a method that has a view. So I can say public void another method, and then it takes in a view as a parameter, and then it does some stuff. So now that I have a method that's public and that has a view as a parameter, if I go back to any one of, say, another activity, activity main, then you'll notice that in on click, I find another method. So because this activity sort of belongs to this controller, and this controller has a public method with a view, then it shows stuff. And if I do things in here, then I'll be able to go from one intent to another. So I'm going to do the same thing that I have up here. I'm going to say name from user is going to be name text field dot get text dot toString. So all I'm doing is getting the text from this text field. And in that text field, you're going to notice that I now want to go to the next screen, and I want to send this input that I created on the first screen to the next screen. So then I go, okay, I'd like to create a new intent. It's going to be called intent 2. It really can be called anything. And then we can go intent get base context, which is get this screen, and from this screen go to another screen, which is going to be other screen 2.class. So this is saying go from this screen to this other screen called other screen 2. And then as you're going there, put some extra stuff. Give it a key of, say, info, and then give it the value, which is the name from user, which is a string that I got from my text field. And then I will say start activity and start this intent2. So what's going to happen when I click on this other method, I'm going to go to this new screen, and this new screen is going to show some stuff. I want to show things on this screen, and remember that this one only has this show stuff text view. So what's going to be helpful for me is to click on here and then know that the ID is show info 2, and then I can go ahead and say text view show info, and then I can grab that one with find view by ID r.id.show info. So I was able to get that text view, and now I want to change stuff from this text view. So first I'm going to get an intent, and to be able to do that, we'll have to follow sort of what we had here. We get intent, get extra, and then get whatever the key, give it the key so they can give us back the value. So we'll follow get intent dot get extra, and then we say we want info. And why do we say we want info? Well, over here we said we put in something extra with the key info and then the value. So we want to retrieve that key, and it's going to give us back a value, which is a string, so we can store that in some string. And then it'll, at this point, it'll say it's complaining. So get string extra. So I had it wrong. So it's get string extra. So now that'll fix my error. And now that I have this string, then I can say show info dot set text. This info that's coming in from another screen through the intent, through its extra as a string. I give it the key. It's going to give me the value as a variable, and then it's going to show it to me. Then one thing that I can't forget to do is in activity main, or whatever activity you're working on, I need to make sure that this button is using the method that I want. So I created a new one called another method. So I go ahead and click enter on that, and now this button is hooked up to this method, and we're going to run it, and it should go from one screen to another, and it should show us some information. So we go information, click the next page. The next page shows the information that we sent it from the past screen. I'm going to go back and click the back button. And that is the introduction to intents.